This is the second of a three-part series of videos about the life of Davy Crockett. The first one explored his life from birth up until young adulthood. This second one will look at his life from his marriage to Polly and through his middle adult years to include his service during the Indian Wars and parts of his political life. While Davy still worked for John Kennedy in eastern Tennessee, he made the decision that he would like to take a wife. He was still in his teens, but getting married at a young age was more common than not in those times. Before he married Polly Finley, Davy set his sights on two potential brides, Amy Summer and Margaret Elder. Neither of those two romances worked out, but he eventually met and married Polly, whom he lived close to. The first 6 years of his marriage were spent in a small rented cabin close to Polly's parents' home. His first two children were born there, John Wesley in 1807 and William in 1808. Nothing historically significant took place during those early married years. At that time in his life, he showed few signs of eventually becoming a folk hero. As would become a trait of his, Davy became itchy to see over the next mountain, and in the autumn of 1811, at age 25, he decided to move his family west and settled in Lincoln County in southern Middle Tennessee. His first daughter, Margaret, was born there, but his stay was short-lived. Financial difficulty caused him to lose his farm, and he moved to neighboring Franklin County in 1812 along Beans Creek. At the time, Creek Indian uprisings to the south in what is present-day Alabama were causing major problems for settlers who were constantly moving westward into the new frontier. The Creeks, who occupied much of the area, were fearful of losing their land, and rightfully so. There were two separate divisions within the Creek Nation, the ones who had come to accept the whites and their way of life, and the more militant ones who were willing to fight for their land. The militant sect were called Red Sticks because of their habit of carrying red tomahawks into battle. The Indian conflict was brought to a head when the Red Sticks massacred 500 whites at Fort Mims near Mobile in present-day southern Alabama. Future President Andrew Jackson was put in charge of an army raised to quell the Creek uprisings. A militia was formed by the men of Franklin County to join in the Indian Wars. Crockett volunteered for service in the militia, and despite Polly's resistance to him leaving, Davy did indeed leave with his regiment to fight the Indians. On November 3, 1813, he participated in the Tallushatchee Massacre in what is present-day Calhoun County, Alabama, in which 186 Red Sticks were killed and 84 were taken prisoner. He also took part in the Battle of Talladega, in which the Tennessee militia, under the command of General Jackson, routed the Red Sticks in another one-sided victory. Davy returned home in late 1813 when his enlistment ran out. He enlisted in the militia a second time in September 1814. He served out that second term as a non-commissioned officer, but didn't see much action the second time around. Crockett's first wife, Polly, died in the spring of 1815 at the age of 26 to an unknown disease. The practicality of needing a new wife quickly led him to court and marry Elizabeth Patton a few months after Polly's death. Raising 3 small children on the frontier was not a task for a single man, and he remedied the situation in short order. Elizabeth had 2 small children of her own and was a widow because of the death of her husband in the Indian Wars. Davy contracted a case of malaria on a hunting trip shortly after his second marriage. He barely survived the illness, but survive he did, and a new chapter in his life thus began. Elizabeth was subjected to Davy's itchy feet syndrome when he decided he wanted to seek a life in a new and different home in Lawrence County, Tennessee, 80 or so miles west of his home on Bean Creek in Franklin County. He found and purchased a piece of land on Shoal Creek near Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, and in 1817 moved his growing family, which now included a daughter born to he and Elizabeth, to the new homestead. Crockett and his family lived less than 5 years in Lawrenceburg, but this is where his political career began. His public duties included magistrate, town commissioner, and justice of the peace. He secured his first elected office when he won the title of Colonel Commander of the 57th Regiment of Militia. Shortly thereafter, Elizabeth gave birth to their 7th child, a girl named Rebecca Elvira. Bitten by the political bug during his run for militia colonel, Crockett decided to run for state representative. He soundly defeated his opponent and headed to Murfreesboro, where the state capital was located. Only 12 days into his first term as representative, he got an urgent message from wife Elizabeth informing him that torrential rains had flooded his business interests along Shoal Creek. His grist mill, powder manufacture facility, and whiskey distillery were all lost in the flooding. He busied himself in cleaning up outstanding debts and made the decision to move further into the Tennessee frontier. Once again, he was on the move, this time settling into his final home prior to his leaving for the Alamo. He moved his now large family to western Tennessee in what is now Gibson County. The area had a great attraction to him because Reelfoot Lake was in the area. The lake was created as a result of earthquakes along the New Madrid Fault in northwestern Tennessee. The area was attractive to Davy because it was known to be teeming with game, and he never wanted to be far from hunting opportunities. I recently visited Rutherford, Tennessee, which is near that homestead. They have a replica of the cabin he built in Gibson County. It is 2 rooms with a sleeping loft. Imagine 2 adults and 8 children in that cabin. Life was surely very difficult on the frontier in the early 1800s. Here is a short video of the interior of the cabin. It has a great many old artifacts. I'm sure none of these are actually left from the Crockett family, but interesting nonetheless. If you're ever in the area, it is worthy of a visit. It's always fun to take a step back in time. At the end of the video, notice the mounted white squirrel. It is authentic. There is a rare strain of albino squirrels found in this area. They are quite common in a small section of northwest Tennessee. If you enjoyed this video, give a thumbs up, make a comment, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching.